Right, welcome back to again NEET World. Today we are going to continue the chapter of animal tissues. So this is the part 2 of animal tissues. Anyone who does not listen this part 1 class, you can go through the channel and we have the live classes on my channel and you can listen the part 1, right? Is my voice is audible online? Please confirm. Am I audible? Right. Thank you. My voice is audible, right? Thank you, right? Okay, those who are watching first time, let me introduce my channel. So this is the NEET World platform. Here we are giving NEET long term 2027. So we are starting a new course of NEET long term. So that is for the year of 2027. So with this course, what you are getting? So you are getting offline classes and also you are getting complete recorded classes, right? After that, we have prepared the study material based on the NCERT. So we have designed few modules. So we are getting that study materials, and also we are giving our class presentations, PPTs, and also we have chapter wise mock test and also full length mock test. So these are the things we are getting from our course, right? So the next one, coming to the faculty, he is the sir Dr. Chandrasekhar. He is the founder of the NEET World. So myself, I am Lakshman, your zoology teacher, right? So the next one, so these are the modules. If you see, I am representing few modules here. So this is actual based on NCERT syllabus only. So we prepare the NCERT syllabus into different modules and with full-fledged information and important MCQs and PYQs, right? So this is all about introduction of my class. So let's start our actual class, that is animal tissues part 2. So the part 1 is completed. In this part 1, what we have discussed is, we have discussed the epithelial tissue, right? So we have discussed epithelial tissue and types of epithelial tissue, and we have discussed what are glands, what are different types of glands also we have completed in part 1. If anyone didn't watch, go for part 1 video, right? So now we will continue this connective tissue. So before continuing this connective tissue, let me ask one question. Anyone, can you please tell epithelial tissue is derived from which layer of germ layers, right? So the answer is, this epithelial tissue is derived from ectoderm also, endoderm and mesoderm, right? So we have seen this thing and we have studied all the different types of tissues. So I gave you one assignment, that is, you have to write the name of tissue and also the description of the tissue and the example of the tissue. This thing if you do, you can definitely realize, you can definitely remember all the functions of the tissue, all the examples of the tissue, right? Next one, now we are going into the connective tissue part. So first of all, what is connective tissue? What is the definition of this connection? What is it's doing? So if you remember epithelial tissue, I said epithelial tissue is avascular, right? Epithelial tissue is avascular, which means it does not having any blood vessels, which means it does not getting its food. So for this epithelial tissue, who will give the blood? I said below there is an tissue. This tissue is giving all the food nutrients to the epithelial tissue. What is this tissue? This is the connective tissue, which means this connective tissue is the only one connecting this food material from this tissue to this epithelial tissue, right? It is supporting the life of epithelial tissue. That's why this tissue is called as what? Connective tissue. See, connective, and also these connective tissues are present in overall the body, right? So that's why it is most abundant in nature and distributed over all the tissues. You see the name connective tissue because of their specialized function, binding and supporting other tissues and other organs. Here it may be epithelial tissue, here it may be another organ, here it may be another tissue. What happens, this epithelial tissue, organ, another tissue, it was connected with this connective tissue. For what? For the purpose of this life supporting. It is supporting the life, it is giving food, it is giving nutrients to the particular tissue. That was the function of connective tissue, right? This connective tissue exclusively is from mesodermal origin, whereas the epithelial tissue, it is from both all the layers. It is only from mesodermal. So, connective tissue, what are the different types of cells are arising? So, in this connective tissue, we have cells also. In this connective tissue, we have fibers. In this connective tissue, we have some ground substance. Right. So, what are the cells that are present in this connective tissue? What are the fibers that are present in this connective tissue? What is the ground substance? Exclusively the ground substance is polysaccharides. Polysaccharides are the ground substance. Sir, what is ground substance? It's like matrix. It's like a foundation of this connective tissue. Without this, fiber cells, they cannot present in this connective tissue. So, what are the different types of cells? We'll see. Right. Before doing that, this slide, if you see, it consists of what? Cells and large cellular extracellular matrix, which is composed of fibers also and also some ground substance also. So, 1, 2, 3. So, these things are present in this connective tissue. Understand? So, what is that ground substance? Maximum water and polysaccharides and some proteins. So, these are all ground substances. So, what are fibers? So, we have two different fibers. One is collagen and elastin. So, these two are exclusively for NCERT. There is one this thing fiber which is called as reticular. So, this collagen is made up of what protein? Collagen protein. This elastin is made up of what protein? Elastin protein. Right? These two are fibers. These are made up of the proteins which are called as collagen is one protein, elastin in another protein. So, with the protein, there is one fiber which is called as collagen is also one fiber, elastin is also one fiber. So, these are made up of the same proteins, same names we gave. So, that thing you need to remember. And coming to this connective tissue has some properties. See, what are the properties? It is giving strength, it is giving elasticity, it is giving flexibility. We will see how this giving it is strength, how this connective tissue is giving elasticity property, how this connective tissue is giving flexibility property. I will give 3 examples. For example, just remember bone. Bone is what? It is very strong. So, that is how it is giving strength. For example, just remember muscle. Muscle also this mesodermal origin. For example, you can remember muscle for elasticity, and you can remember ligament. Ligament is very flexible in nature. So, that is how this connective tissue has flexibility and strength also. So, whenever you see this thing, there are some tendons and ligaments that we will discuss, they show some properties of elasticity also, right. So, strength, elasticity and flexibility are the properties of connective tissues, right. Now, we have to see the types of connective tissue. There are 2 types of connective tissue, one is loose connective tissue, another one is dense connective tissue. What is that? One is loose connective tissue, another one is dense connective tissue. Sir, what is loose connective tissue? This loose connective tissue is exclusively made up of high amount of cells and low amount of fibers. So, here the cells are very rich in, and whereas here fibers are very low. When compared to dense connective tissue, here fibers are more. Fibers are more, whereas cells are very few, right. So, whenever you see the loose connective tissue, here what you need to remember, here the cells are more in number, whereas fibers are less in number. So, this was the diagram, this was the picture of this thing loose connective tissue. In that we are discussing areolar tissue. Just remember, this is the example of loose connective tissue. If you see here, there are more number of cells, whereas if you see there are only 2 fibers. So this was the example of loose connective tissue, right? So in loose connective tissue we have 2 different types of tissues. One is areolar tissue, another one is adipose tissue. Areolar tissue is present where? Beneath the skin. This areolar tissue is present where? Beneath the skin, whereas this adipose tissue is present in our body, like adipocytes. With the help of this adipocyte cells, this tissue was formed, right? So this areolar tissue is beneath the skin. If you see this diagram, this entire thing is called as areolar tissue. So you need to remember what are macrophages, what are fibroblasts, what are adipocytes, what are collagen fibers. These collagen fibers are made up of collagen proteins. Likewise, this elastic fiber, if you see this thing, this is elastic fiber. This elastic fiber is made up of elastin protein, right? So these fibers, these elastic fibers, collagen fibers are coming from a cell. That cell is called as, if you see, this is one cell. From this cell these fibers are coming, right? So this cell is called as what? Fibroblast. So there are some cells which secrete fibers. If the cell secretes fibers of collagen, then it is called as a collagen fibroblast cell or elastin fibroblast cell. So if you see the color of the elastin, it is looking like yellow. So usually elastic fibers are in yellow color, right? Understand? So they represent blue color for collagen fibers, yellow color for elastin fibers, right? So understand what is fibroblast. These are the cells which secretes fibers. Next one we'll see. Next one, mast cells. These secrete some proteins which performs 3 different kind of functions. The first one is anticoagulation, which means it prevent the clotting. So what is the substance? Heparin. It is the one, it prevent the clotting in blood, right? Next one, histamine and bradykinin. It causing what? Vasodilators. So increase the diameter of the blood vessel. That is called as what? Vasodilators. Whereas coming to the serotonin, it is performing the opposite function of this vasodilator. What it means? It is decreasing the diameter of blood vessel. That is called as vasoconstriction. These are not only doing this vasodilation, vasoconstriction. There are some other hormones, some other enzymes also doing this vasodilation, vasoconstriction, that we will discuss later. But from this, just remember, heparin is one of the anticoagulant, histamine and bradykinin is one of the vasodilator, serotonin is responsible for the vasoconstriction. So whenever these are releasing, so that time what happens? So whenever there is an inflammation in response to an injury. So what is inflammation? So inflammation is nothing but the reddishness, swelling or itching. So these kind of properties on skin, whenever you find, so that properties are called as what? Inflammation. Here I mentioned one thing which is called as swelling. Sir, what here swelling is doing? So swelling is nothing but in inflammation what happens? Increase in the diameter of blood vessel. So whenever the increase in the diameter of blood vessel, it's looking like some swelling in nature. So whenever the swelling happens, what happens? More amount of blood flow will occur. So whenever more amount of blood flow will occur, it is looking like what? Reddish in nature. So that's why reddish, swelling, itching. So these are the properties of inflammation, right? So whenever inflammation occurs, these mast cells will secrete these substances, right? So that's how the coordination will happen in mast cells. And also there are some cells which are called as macrophages. They perform phagocytosis. they perform phagocytosis in function. So what is phagocytosis? Simply just remember cell eating or engulfing the pathogen also, or any food particle, whatever it may be, engulfing the substances by one cell. That process is called as phagocytosis. Maximum this phagocytosis function was performed by which cells? Macrophages. For example, just remember this is blood vessel and here it is one tissue. So if the macrophage is present in blood vessel, then this macrophage is called as what? Monocyte. It was immature. Whenever there is a pathogen was detected in tissue, then what happens? This monocyte is entered into tissue. Then what happens? This monocyte is transformed into one particular cell, that is called as what? Macrophage. Understand? This macrophage is only two types. Initially it is monocyte, which is present in blood vessel. It is circulating along this blood vessel around the body. So whenever the monocyte was detected, there is some pathogen, there is some foreign body which is present in tissue, then what happens? This monocyte is entered into that particular tissue. Then what happens? This monocyte is transformed into macrophage. So there are two types of tissue. One is wandering macrophages, which is circulating along this blood vessel. Another one is tissue fixed macrophages, which are present exclusively in tissues, right? That was the two types of macrophages. And also there are some cells which are present in areolar tissue, that is plasma cells. We know in this thing we discussed in immune system, right? So we have innate immune system, we have adaptive immune system. In that, in adaptive immune system, we discussed there are some cells called T cells and B cells. From these B cells, we are producing two types of cells. One is plasma cell, another one is memory cell. So here what happens? Whenever the pathogen was detected by the T cell, then what happens? T cell will come and activate B cell. Now the B cell is differentiated into one plasma cell and one memory cell. From this plasma cell, what happens? All the antibodies are going to release. Same kind of plasma cell that is present in areolar tissue. These are derived from the B lymphocytes and producing what? Antibodies. So along with these cells, there is one more cell which is called as adipocytes. So these are the specialized cells for the storage of only fats. So it is storing only fats. That's why these are called as what? Adipocytes. So these are the cells which are present in areolar tissue, right? Along with areolar tissue, we have some fibers which are called as collagen and also elastin fibers also present in where? Areolar tissue, which is exclusively present in loose connective tissue, right? And also there is one more tissue which is called as adipocytes or adipose tissue. It is also specialized for the storage of fat. So a group of adipocytes, for example, if you see, this is one adipocyte and this is another adipocyte and this is another adipocytes. A group of adipocytes cells which are forming one group of cells which is called as what? Tissue. That's called adipose tissue, right? It is made up of large number of adipocytes and few fibers. Very few fibers are there, but large number of adipocytes are present. So this is also present beneath the skin, provides what? Thermal insulation. So it is protecting the body from outside temperature, right? So that is called as thermal insulation. And also, so how the fats are becoming? So when we eat excess, so the body will take how much it wants, and remaining, see, excess nutrients which are not used immediately, the remaining thing which is not used, that thing will convert into what? Fats. That fat is stored in this tissue, that's why it's called as adipose tissue, and the cells are called as what? Adipocytes. Just simple, that is. Adipocytes are nothing but the cells which are having or storing the fat. Adipose tissue is nothing but the tissues which are having adipocytes for the storage of fat, right? So these two cells are present exclusively in where? Loose connective tissue. right? So coming to the dense connective tissue, as I said, it contains what? More fibers but less cells. Initial it is more cells, less fibers, but here if you see, more fibers and less cells and very little ground substance, it is very negligible. If you see this dense connective tissue, it was classified or divided into two types. One type is called as regular connective tissue, another type is what? Irregular connective tissue. If you see, the collagen fibers are arranged parallelly here. So here it showing some regular arrangement. So that's why this type of tissue is called as what? Regular connective tissue. Whereas in next diagram if you see, so this is not simply arranged in parallel, it is arranged as random thing. So that's why this type of tissue is called as what? Irregular connective tissue, whereas this tissue is called as what? Regular connective tissue. The important point is we have to remember the examples, right? So what are the examples here? Tendons and ligaments, right? Tendons and ligaments. Hi Narayana Nisha, welcome to the class. Just listen. So the examples are what? Tendons and ligaments. Sir, what are tendons and ligaments? See, for example, we'll draw the bone. This is bone. We know the bone is connected with muscle, right? So the bone is connected with muscle. So these are the tendons which connects this bone and muscle. So this area, they have one specialized tissue. That tissue is called as what? Tendons. You have to remember this thing. This is very important. Tendons are the tissues which connects bone to muscle. And what are ligaments? I will draw another bone here. So there are some tissues which are present here. There are some tissues which are present here. This will connect from bone to another bone. So these are called as what? Ligaments. So we have this connection also, we have this connection also. For this bone and muscle we are calling what? Tendons. For bone and bone we are calling what? Ligaments. So these two are the examples of what? Dense connective tissue of regular connective tissue. Dense, regular connective tissue. Examples are tendons and ligaments, which attaches skeleton muscle to the bone, or which attaches bone to other bone. So that was the example of the regular connective tissues, right? So the next one is dense irregular connective tissue. If you see dense irregular connective tissue, in this type connective tissue, bundles of collagen fibers are irregularly arranged. Here there is no regular pattern, there is no parallel arrangement of these bundles. So where this dense irregular connective tissue is present? Peristeum, endosteum, pericardium, heart walls, and exclusively remember this joint capsule and deeper regions of the dermis. So this was the example of NCERT. These are the examples of NCERT. Just remember, dense irregular connective tissues are present where? All the layers of these organs, and also these heart walls and deeper regions of skin. So these are the sites of dense irregular connective tissue. Understand? So in regular connective tissue we have only two things, one is tendon and ligament. In irregular connective tissue we have few more. First one, just remember the layers of this bone and heart, and also heart walls and the joints and skins. So that was the examples of irregular connective tissue. Next one, so that is about the dense connective tissue, right? Irregular we discussed, regular we discussed. So it is a subpart of connective tissue. After that there is one more connective tissue which is called as what? Skeletal tissue. In that we have two things, one is cartilage, another one is what? Bone. One is cartilage, another one is bone. We know cartilage is somewhat flexible in nature, so that's why there is one word which is called as palleable. Palleable, nothing but ability to bend. So cartilage is palleable, whereas bone is what? Non-palleable. It is not having ability to bend. That property is not having in bone. Whereas the property of palpable, ability to bend, it was seen in cartilage. It is solid but semi-rigid, which is nothing but the flexible property. So that is having in this connective tissue, and it is made up of what? Collagen fibers, also elastic fibers, only in elastic thing. So we have collagen fibers, elastic fibers also. And we already discussed there are some cells which secreting what? Fibers. Here also there are some cells which are called as chondroblast. These cells secreting what? This cartilage. So these are the cells which are called as chondroblast, which is also simply like a fibroblast. Fibroblast nothing but secreting fibers. Chondroblast nothing but secreting collagen or cartilage kind of thing. So if you see, these cells are present where? They gave one name called as lacunae. Sir, what is lacunae? It is a fluid filled cavity. In this thing, this cell is present. Likewise, there are some fluid, another fluid filled cavities. So this is one fluid filled cavity. Here this chondroblast is present. Here this chondroblast is present. Likewise, it is present in entire tissue. Here these are matrix. Here these are matrix. Here this is fluid filled cavity. Inside this cell is present. This is fluid filled cavity. Inside this cell is present. If you see the diagram, you will understand. So this is all what? Matrix. See, this thing is what? Fluid filled cavity. Inside the cell is present. So this fluid filled cavity is called as what? Lacunae. Here the fluid filled cavity is called as what? Lacunae. Right? Next thing, this cartilage is covered by one layer which is called as what? Perichondrium. This cartilage from here, this is below cartilage. So this cartilage is covered by what? Perichondrium. This is the outer layer of cartilage, and below the perichondrium we have some cells which are called as what? Perichondrial cells. So in perichondrium there are some cells called what? Perichondrial cells. These are the cells responsible for the nourishment, right? If you see, from this perichondrium only this cartilage is getting the all the kind of nutrients. That thing you need to remember. Nutrients diffuse from the blood capillaries of the perichondrium, because perichondrium having what? Perichondrial cells. That was the thing you need to remember. So there is not more than information from this. Just you need to remember cartilage is solid but some flexible in nature, having palpable property, and cartilage have chondroblast, and cartilage, these chondroblast cells are present where? In fluid filled cavity, that may be one or two, lacunae space. And also you need to remember, see, cartilage is avascular in property. That's why these perichondrial cells, so called perichondrial cells, having this property of diffusion, sending all the nourishments to this cartilage. That thing only you need to remember. So next one, where this cartilage is going to present. If you see the endoskeleton, the backbone of this all animals, this cartilage is present. Here we already seen in animal kingdom there are some cyclostomes. Their endoskeleton is made up of also this cartilage, and also we have cartilaginous fishes and bony fishes. So cartilaginous fishes also having this cartilage. Along with that, in the internal skeletal system also having different types of cartilage at articular surfaces, costal cartilages and epiphyseal plate also have cartilages, and in respiratory structures such as nasal chamber and cartilaginous rings of trachea and bronchioles, larynx, all these areas we will see this cartilaginous. So this was this is I kept for the understanding where in our body the cartilage is present. So this is not required for NEET, right? And also it is present, if you see, it is present in pinnae and eustachian epiglottis, intervertebral disc and pubis hyposis. In all these areas this cartilage is going to present, right, in our body. Apart from cartilage, there is one more tissue which is called as bone. It is very strong, highly calcified, high levels of, right, high levels of calcium is there, and also it is very rigid connective tissue because it is not palpable. right? It does not having any property of ability to bend, right? So it is highly rigid, solid, hard, and highly calcified in property. And it gives what? Structural framework to the body. Without bones, we cannot look like one man, or we cannot look like one human. So without bones we cannot. With bones only we are looking like one structure. So for example, it's amoeba, it does not having any bones, that's why it is irregular in shape, right? So that's why this bone, this connective tissue, it's giving the structural framework to the body. It is present having what? Endoskeleton of most adult vertebrates, right? And also if you see the bones, limb bones of animals serve the weight bearing function. So most of the weight of an animal is coming from where? Limb bones, right? It supports soft tissues and protects all the delicate organs. For example, if you see, so in my this abdominal cavity or this chest cavity, so there are lungs, there are heart, and the digestive system, and liver, and spleen. All the different types of organs are present. All these organs are protected by this rib cage, right? And also my brain is there. So my brain is a delicate organ, and this was protected by skull. So this bone is protecting soft tissues also and some delicate organs also. That thing you need to remember, right? So that was only told given in NCERT. So after that, so if you see, this was the structure of bone. If you see this part, this long part is called as shaft region, and this part is called as epiphysis, and this bone is covered by a layer which is called as periosteum. And in bone we have two regions, one is spongy region, another one is compact bone. So this spongy region having what? Bone marrow cavity, whereas the compact bone, it is very hard, dense in shape, right? So in spongy bone, so spongy part, we are having some pores in nature, right? So this was the structure of bone. And also we have some cells which are called as osteoblast and osteocyte and osteoclast. You need to remember the functions of this, all this thing. So I told fibroblast and fibrocytes, right? So here I told what fibroblasts are the cells which are releasing or which are secreting fibers, which means these are active cells, whereas fibrocytes are the cells which are inactive cells, right? So but here this was exact opposite. So here the osteocytes are the cells which are releasing, which are forming bones, whereas osteoblasts are inactive. See, osteocytes are mature bone cells, whereas osteoblasts are bone forming cells. So these are the initial cells. After this osteoblast, then it is transformed into osteocyte. So this here osteocyte is active mature bone cell, whereas osteoblast is inactive, just bone forming cell. Whereas coming to the osteoclast, what it is doing, just I will tell. For example, this is one bone. What happens? What I told, it is rich in calcium. It is rich in calcium. So what are the cells that are placing all this calcium in bone? These osteocytes and osteoblasts. So they are taking the calcium from outside this bone, such as blood, and they are bringing this calcium into the bone, so making high calcium bone. So now what this osteoclast is doing, it is taking the calcium from bone and placing in where? Blood. So exactly opposite function was doing by osteoclast. So that's why these cells are called as what? Bone resorbing cells. It is not absorbing, it is resorbing, which is nothing but it is bringing all the calcium from bone to all the blood. But whereas these osteocytes, osteoblasts are doing what? It is taking the calcium from blood to bone. So that was the function of these three cells, you need to remember, right? So So that was the part of connective tissue. In connective tissue we discussed only loose connective tissue, dense connective tissue, after that cartilage and bone. So now we will move forward to fluid connective tissue. So that is also sub part of connective tissue. In fluid connective tissue, what is there? Just blood. This blood is made up of plasma and formed elements. Sir, what are the formed elements? Nothing but RBC, WBC, platelets. In formed elements, what are there? Maximum water and some solutes. Water we know. In solutes, what are there? Some proteins, some salts, some other nutrient and hormones, enzymes, all the things are constituting what? Solutes and water, and these two are combining what? Plasma, and plasma and formed elements are combining in blood. If you see the composition of plasma, 92% is water, only 8% is what? Solutes, and these solutes are made up of what? Plasma proteins, mineral salts, nutrients, gases, because this blood is only carrying all the O2 and CO2, and excretory waste, enzymes and hormones, because these hormones does not have any ducts, endocrine gland does not having any ducts, so that's why this blood is only having these hormones. So all the things are present in plasma. So what are the proteins? The proteins are albumins, globulins, fibrogen and prothrombin proteins. Albumins are responsible for to maintain osmotic pressure of the blood, whereas these globulins, such as we have three different types of globulins: alpha, beta, gamma. In this, gamma is responsible for antibody production, and also this fibrinogen, prothrombin, heparin, these are helpful in blood coagulation, such as this fibrinogen, which is inactive, is becoming what? Active, and the active name is called as what? Fibrin. This fibrin is going to clot the blood, right? So such likewise, and we have some heparins. We already discussed this. Heparin is anticoagulant, and we also have some anti-heparin kind of thing in our blood also. So all these things are present in what? Solutes only. So that is called plasma proteins. So that was the functions of plasma proteins. Blood clottings are there, maintains this pH also there, osmotic blood pressure, which was done by albumins. So that was present in plasma. And coming to formed elements, we have RBCs, WBCs and platelets. So this thing it was coming in under next chapter, I think. So that we'll discuss later. Next tissue is muscle tissue. So this muscle tissue is also from what origin? Mesodermal origin, except a few cells such as iris and ciliary body, these two are ectodermal origin, but most of the muscle tissue is what origin? Mesodermal origin only. For example, and also these properties of this muscle tissue, if you see: excitability, conductivity, contractility. What is the definitions of all these things? Excitability, nothing but whenever there is a signal is coming to the muscle, what happens? This muscle has to activate. So that activation or response to a particular signal is called as what? Excitability, right? And next thing, conductivity. Now what happens? There is muscle, there are muscle bundles are like this. Now here the muscle was activated. Now what happens? This impulse, it has to transfer along all the muscle. So that is called as what? Conductivity. Now what happens? The ultimate function is what? Contraction. So the muscle has to contract. Whenever I am doing some functions or doing some work, what happens? The muscle ultimate function is contract and relaxation. So that is called as contractibility, and also relaxation also. So this relaxation, another word they gave, that word is, here I didn't mention, but the word is extensibility done, elasticity. Elasticity is nothing but, see, for example, whenever you stretch one rubber band, after some time if you release the pressure or if you remove that thing, what happens, it will come back to its original position. Likewise, so whenever the muscle get contracted, it will come back to its original position. So that's called relaxation, and the word is called as elasticity. So this excitability, conductivity, contractility, elasticity, these four functions or these four properties were shown by what? Muscle only, right? So about muscle structure and the properties and the mechanism, contraction, you will discuss in locomotion. But here you need to know what are the different types of muscles are there. So we have different types of muscle, three different types of muscle. One is skeletal muscle, another one is cardiac muscle, another one is smooth muscle. Right thing, from you need to know about all these things only. Just three things was mentioned in NCERT. For example, if you take this skeletal muscle, if you see the structure, it is long, cylindrical, and it is not branched, it is unbranched. So with the help of diagram you need to understand. So it is long, cylindrical, and it is unbranched cell. If you see, so this is a continuous cell, so that's why it is having multiple layer of nucleus. It is a multi-nucleate cell. So why it is having multi-nuclear cell? So there is a thing which is called as syncytium. Sir, what is this syncytium? For example, if you see what happens, this is one cell, this is one nucleus. What happens in cell division? Nucleus will divide into twice, then cell will divide into twice, right? So that's how one cell is becoming two cell. What happens in that condition? What happens is nothing but, this is one cell, nucleus is there, nucleus will divide into two, but there will be no cell division, which is nothing but cytokinesis does not happen, but karyokinesis will happen. Next, what happens? From these two, another 4 will come, from this 4, another 8 will come. Likewise, there will be no cytokinesis, but karyokinesis will happen. Then what happens? One nucleus having one cell having multiple nucleus. This condition is called as what? Syncytium. Because of that condition only, this one skeletal muscle having multiple nucleus. And if you see the skeletal muscle, you are seeing what? Some dark bands and some light bands. So it is showing what? Striations. So based on presence of light and dark bands, it is called as what? Striated muscles. It is showing what? Striations. And also you can control these muscles. So that's why these are called as what? Voluntary muscles. So these are the only one voluntary muscles we have, right? So voluntary muscles, that thing you need to remember. Striated muscles you need to remember, and also this long cylindrical unbranched kind of thing you need to remember. So that was the things of skeletal muscle, right? So why it is striations? Because it having dark and light bands, right? So the next one is smooth muscle. Smooth muscle, it is like spindle in shape. See, if you see the ends, these are ends are tips. So these are pointed ends, right? So this is what? Spindle in shape. So that is the shape of fusiform. And if you see, this is one cell having only one nucleus. Previous, it is one cell having many nucleus. So this is one cell having one nucleus. So that way it's called as uninucleate cell, right? Uninucleate. And also if you see, this cell is not having any dark, any light bands. So it is not forming any dark and light bands. So it is called as unstriated muscle. It is not showing any striations. So it is unstriated muscle. And also these are involuntary in nature. We cannot control all these smooth muscles. We cannot control, that's why these are involuntary in nature, involuntary muscle. And where these muscles are present? In all soft tissues. or smooth muscles are present in all digestive, all different kind of tissues, such as if you see blood vessels, trachea, stomach, intestine, excretory duct, genital ducts. So these are the locations of what? Smooth muscle, right? If you see in the walls of the visceral organs, blood vessels, bronchioles, stomach, all this kind of thing, you have what? Smooth muscles. And I said there are no striations. Striations are absent, so that's why it's called as smooth muscle. If you see this diagram, this is cell of the smooth muscle, one cell having only one nucleus, so that way it is uninucleate, right? So that was the things of smooth muscle. Next one is cardiac muscle. If you see cardiac muscle, it is also long and cylindrical, but having what? Branching. So that was the difference between cardiac muscle and skeletal muscle. In skeletal muscle, it does not having any branches, but in cardiac muscle, it is having what? Branches. That was the difference between cardiac and this thing, skeletal muscle. And also if you see cardiac muscle, it is involuntary in nature, whereas skeletal muscle is voluntary in nature. It is striped, right? It has striations, okay, but it is involuntary, whereas skeletal muscle having striations, but it is voluntary in nature, right? Madam, class, just 5 minutes, madam. Done. It is involuntary in nature, it is striped in pattern, right? So for example, if you see, this is one cell and this is another cell. In starting class only we discussed there are some junctions which are present in between two cells performing different kind of function. In that we discussed one junction called as gap junction. What the gap junction is doing? It is communicating with one cell to another cell. So here in this heart or cardiac tissue, one important junction, it is called as intercalated disc. Intercalated disc are the junctions like gap junctions which are responsible for the communication in heart. Sir, what communication is happening? This contraction and relaxation from sinoatrial node, this stimulus is coming, then what happens? Atria is going to contract and ventricles, after that ventricles contraction, all the contraction relaxation is happening with the help of what? Intercalated disc. So from one cell to another cell, what happens? This stimulus or action potential is going to transfer with the help of what junctions? Gap junctions. The name of the gap junctions, here they give intercalated disc, which means if one cell receiving signal means what? Automatically another cell also will continue the signal, and automatically another cell also will continue signal. That's how at one time both arteries, two arteries is contracting, and after that relaxation. So with the help of this intercalated disc, understand? So here in between junctions of these two cells, these intercalated discs are present for what? Communication. It's like gap junction. So those are the three types of muscle cells. Finally, we have what? Nervous tissue. Nervous tissue is made up of two things which are called as neurons and neuroglia. Initially what I told, tissue is nothing but tissue is made up of same number of cells which perform similar function, right? But here it was different. If you see, this nervous tissue is made up of what? Neurons also. Neuron is one cell, whereas neuroglia are another kind of cells which are not perform any transfer of these impulses, which purely performs the protection of this nervous tissue. So for the supporting, there are some cells which are called as neuroglial cells. These neuroglial cells, and along with neurons, we are calling this as what? Nervous tissue, which means there are some group of cells which perform similar function. This group of cells may be same kind of cells or different kind of cells which perform one similar function, then we call it what? Tissues. Here we can see neurons and neuroglial cells. So this is neuron, and we have many neuroglial cells such as astrocytes which are star shaped in nature, oligodendrocytes which are giving myelin sheath to the neuron, microglial cells, these are like what? Macrophages, phagocytosis properties, and also ependymal cells which are present in this brain for movement of these molecules, Schwann cells also same kind of thing, oligodendrocytes. These are releasing myelin sheath or neuron. Satellite cells responsible for monitoring all the neuroglial cells, and also neurons. These two are combining what? Neurons tissue, nervous tissue. Same this thing only they are present in this nervous tissue, and we will discuss clear cut about in this this neural control and coordination. So this was the structure of nervous tissue. If you see, so this was the soma, and these are all dendrites, these are all branch, and there is one unbranched thing which is called as axon, and this axon there are cells called as what? Schwann cells. These Schwann cells secrete some layer which is called as what? Myelin sheath. Because of the presence of myelin sheath, this neuron is called as what? Myelinated neuron. If Schwann cells are absent, there is no myelin sheath, then these neurons are called as what? Non-myelinated neurons. And after that what happens? This axon later divided into branch and having what? One bulb-like end. This bulb-like end is called as what? Synaptic knobs. From the synaptic knobs, another neuron will be connected, there the transmission of nerve impulse will happen. So this was the general structure of neuron. To understand the general structure only I mentioned this diagram. So today class we discussed about few little things of nervous tissue and types of muscles and types of connective tissue. So with that we'll solve 2-3 questions. Just see, in which of the following connective tissue the cells secrete fibers of collagen or elastin? So here cartilage will secrete fibers, bones also will secrete fibers, in adipose tissue also we see fiber, areolar tissue also collagen, this elastin, all these fibers are present. So A, B, C, D having fibers, but D in blood we don't have any fibers. This was the point you need to remember. It is fiber free. It is fiber free liquid matrix, blood is. So here the options are A, B, C, D are correct, right? So that was the answer for this. A, B, C, E. A, B, C, E is correct. D, blood does not having any fibers. So the next question, ligaments are dense irregular tissue, cartilage is dense regular tissue. Is it true or wrong? Loose connective tissue we have regular and we have irregular. In regular we discussed tendons and ligaments. In irregular we have discussed many number of examples, but not cartilage. Cartilage is another thing. Cartilage, bone are what? Skeletal connective tissue. So here ligaments are dense irregular connective tissue, no dense regular connective tissue, and cartilage is not a dense regular connective tissue, it is skeletal tissue. Both two statements are wrong. And the final question which is we seen in yesterday. So these mast cells which are present in where? Areolar connective tissue, inner surface of bronchioles and tubular part of nephrons. Just we can connect this blood is a specialized connective tissue, and tubular part of nephron we saw at PCT, simple cuboidal epithelial cells. Tubular part of nephron is cuboidal epithelium, whereas inner surface of bronchioles have ciliated epithelium. Not only inner surface of bronchioles, fallopian tube also, right? So that's how sometimes what happens, they connect connective tissue with epithelial tissue, and likewise we have muscle and neuron. Whatever they do, if we study the concept, we study the NCERT, all the details, we can easily answer the following questions, right? So that thing for this today's class. So we completed the connective tissue, muscle tissue and nervous tissue also, right? So that's good.